What has been your evidence for believing what you believe?
It's very difficult to imagine that everything happened by chance. It's truly difficult. I don't see what we find in science is contradict to what we have in our beliefs or in the Bible. It's either there is still missing data or this need a longer time
to connect the two in a very concrete, obvious way for the world to see.
The problem that we try to consider occasion in the Bible as a scientific book. And when we, for example, question the creation story, this story of the creation meant more metaphorical, spiritual guidance for the people and idea. We have to understand that this is not a scientific book. When I read a scientific book, I question the data, I question the information in it. And it's important to be audited and questioned from the scientific point of view. And this is how it's important to think about it by this way.
The outward expression of our faith can't happen unless we are internally transformed.
We should use these events as a chance to turn our minds back to God. If we look at the negative, we will not move forward.
How you love yourself, how you're going to treat yourself, is how you're going to treat other people.
Narrow path is to sometimes see the truth despite your own perception.
Welcome back, everyone, to Meaning Unseen podcast. Today is the first episode that we're actually doing out of the original studio. And I'm currently in London, Ontario, with some family members. This is Victor, my guest for today. Victor is Stasi. He is my uncle. He is pediatric emergency physician, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for saying yes to this opportunity to come and have a conversation with me.
Welcome, Maria.
Welcome to your home. This is a great studio. It's going to make my studio look bad after this. Victor, what did you study? Why am I interviewing you today? Do you want to tell our guests?
Yeah, so I'm a pediatric emergency physician, but after I finished most of my study, I felt that's important to understand more about, I would say, the theology, the religion, and why we believe in what we believe in. So I did some study, I did master's degree in theology, and this was tempting for Maria to come and interview me.
Yes, because theology is such a big topic, or it's also you hear the word theology and you don't necessarily understand what it means, and a lot of people will just relate it automatically to a religious mindset or a religious approach to things. But me and you were talking before this episode, and what is really theology? What could you tell us about theology? Does everybody have it?
Yeah, so theology is I think it's one of the misunderstood terms that it's related more to religion, but it's when it's described originally to explain how we understand the religion. But basically, I will start by three terminology, theology, dogma, and practice. So basically, everyone has a certain set of idea, and this is what we call it the dogma. So what is the dogmatic ideology of this person, or what dogma do I believe in? For me, it's kind of a faith. It can be also a true idea that I'm convinced that this is the life.
This the truth.
Is the worldview.
The worldview or truth?
The truth.
The truth.
This is my worldview. Or
okay.
This will be, it can be different, it can be taken different terminology, but this usually dictate everything after. For example, if this is my dogma, so the theology will come on how I believe in what I believe in. So this is the theology. So every idea, people believe in it. Did they question themselves? How do they believe in it? Or they just believe in it because this is what they learn. So the theology is when you question your belief.
Okay. It's the thinking process.
Exactly. So it's basically to be skeptical in your dogma. This is basically it is.
Does everybody have some sort of theology? What if people don't think much about, does theology have to do precisely with God?
Traditionally, it is described as the understanding of the religious dogma. And that's why even in the first century, they say that every believer should be a theologian. Because if he's not theologian, if he's not understanding what he believes in, how he's going to be a believer? So in our world now, I think everyone has a certain set of idea of why he believes or on what he believes in. So, and when I say usually, this may be something cultural, but every word when I say he, I mean he or she. So I don't mean he but it's just kind of how culturally I used to express things. Mm-hmm. So, but he is not referred to like a man. It's just referred to a person. So
yeah. Okay. What do you believe is the truth? What's your theology?
My theology is, I feel that there is something like superpower. We cannot assume that everything happened by chance. So my belief is there is something different, because I feel that even in my work, when I deal with a complex kid to treat, I can't imagine that this is just the chance, reach the conclusion. I believe that there is someone who has superpower who actually prepare and create everything. So all the theology that I believe in is to understand how this happened, why this happened, what is the aim of it.
What has been your evidence for believing what you believe? Do you feel like, is this something you are sure of? Is it like a most likely to be true? Or do you have personal evidence within your relationship with God that there is more to this life, there's more to you as an individual?
Okay, I think these two parts. One part is going to be subjective and one part is going to be objective. So the subjective part, it's difficult to explain because it's subjective. So it's usually it's not going to mean many things for other people. So do I believe? Yes, definitely. I do believe. Personally, I believe God exists. Definitely does. I believe that God has a certain change in my life. Definitely. But this is very difficult to express it and to people to believe in it because they don't know who I am. So this is the subjective part.
Right.
But the objective part, for me, it's as a scientific person, it's very difficult to imagine that everything happened by chance. It's truly difficult. There is a sequence of time where actually, I don't see what we find in science is contradict to what we have in our beliefs or in the Bible. I don't think there is contradiction by any means.
Yeah.
It's either there is still missing data or this need a longer time to be things to achieve.
To connect the two
together
in a very concrete, obvious way for the world to see. To connect the scientific world with the spiritual world, but in a study type of, which I don't think God made us to even get to that point.
The problem that we try to consider occasionally the Bible as a scientific book. And when we, for example, question the creation story, we try to say, this is exactly the steps. We have to understand that this is not a scientific book. So, for example, when I read a scientific book, I question the data, I question the information in it. And it's important to be audited and questioned from the scientific point of view. But I can't, if I have a published paper, I can't say that, I didn't see metaphorically how this can happen. Because it is not kind of a spiritual paper. It's actually a scientific paper. So it's the same with the Bible. When we talk about the creation, this was not a scientific book. This story of the creation meant more kind of metaphorical spiritual guidance for the people and idea. So, and this is how it's important to think about it by this way.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk more about dogma. Take us into what the image of God is, what you believe is the truth. And again, guys, we're talking here with doctors, scientists, like people who really, like, they're extremely integrated with the scientific world. Because I meet people all the time who will say, like, you'd be like, do you believe in God? And they'll be like, no, I believe in science. Like, it's one or the other. And I just want to emphasize how sort of ridiculous that statement is, because the two do not take from each other. They don't. They can.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It's like you said, your explanation of God actually comes from how the science came into place, right? It's hard for these things. It's almost impossible for these things to have happened by chance.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I agree. Like, and like God created the human being as a human being. I believe that science, when it deal more with the human being. It doesn't deal with the metaphorical opinions and ideas. So the science is limited to explain just only what the human being is. It usually does not go to the metaphorical opinion or the spiritual opinion. So that's why I don't believe there is a contradiction of science and spiritual life. It's different views. I see things from different points. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, they complete each other. They are not against each other. Actually, they complete each other. And I can't explain one by the other. So I can't try to read the Bible from the spiritual point of view and tell how the creation actually happened. It's not going to be wrong, the sequence or
you mean from a scientific point of view?
From scientific point of view.
Right.
Like, so it's the same. I can't read kind of a scientific paper and try to prove God through the scientific paper. Like, I think they are two different views. They complete each other. They do not contradict each other. But I can't take an argument from one to prove the other.
I see what you're saying. We were created in the image of God. So for one, we have to understand who God is. And we will spend eternity trying to figure that out. But what do we know about the image of God and how it's reflected in our humanity?
Yeah, I think this is a very challenging question, because we always mix between image of God and God himself. I don't think I think when God clearly write and create on the image of God. So we are not gods, but we are created on the image of God.
Right.
So, which is a different thing between so you can see someone in the mirror, but what you see is this person is the image of the person, but it's not the person himself. So that's why I think all of us, when we say that we created in the image of God, we are not gods. I think this is very important and crucial point.
Mm-hmm. I had someone ask me that exact question. Like, if we are created in the image of God, does that make us God, or does that make him human or man?
Yeah, I think this is kind of very tricky area. So my understanding of the Christian point of this is that when we say that we get created in the image of God, is we created in all the good things, so even so we have the all power, the all just, so all of this, it is potential things that the human can grow in. But to have the essence or the foundation itself of being a God, I don't think that it's for the human being. And I think it's kind of a mix between the people that, we will be a good people. We will be sometime gods. No, I think this is something, it has to be very clear. This is not. So image of God is basically we are getting all the good things, but we are not gods. So good things like that. We have the power. We have the will.
But we don't have godly power. What kind of power are we talking about?
As a human, I think we have a huge power that does not exist in any other creation. And we can tell that, as a human, I think
consciousness is power.
Everything, so now, you can imagine how the technology is advancing, what actually power you have. You can fly between the planets, so you can, You have a huge power. You have a huge potential that does not exist with other creators.
Intellectual power.
Intellectual power, yes.
Right. And when you say that doesn't exist in other, like we're talking animals, and is that
Like
what
all
you're...
the other creation, like, I don't think like, the human creation is unique than the other creations.
This is why we say we are created in the image of God. But we are not born the way we are created. We're born with a lot of corruption and evil already in our hearts.
I think this is a very difficult question because, are we actually born inheritedly with evil things, or do we, when we grow environmentally, we exposed to these evil things and then we start to adopt it? I think this is a very difficult question. But I agree with you. It looks kind of some of stuff that we carry genetically that can also increase or advance it by the environmental surrounding exposure that can result in worsening of our behavior. But also on the other side, it can actually advance in improving in our behavior. So I think there's two parts here. Part is what we are born with and what we actually exposed to.
Can we go a bit deeper into that intellectual advantage that we get over other animals? I just want to go deeper into how do we resemble God? What does it actually mean that we are created in the image of God?
When we talk about created in the image of God, so let's get all the positive things. So could we actually differentiate between the right and wrong? Yes. Do we have the power to do the right thing? Yes. Do we have justice in our decisions? Yes. Do we have intention to do good things? Yes. So all of this, this is what we talk about the image of God. When we say that this is, it's gifts, yes, but we have the choice not to do it. So that's why the human being, you can do this or, and this will itself, to have the will itself, it is one of the most important thing in the human being, because God had the will, so the will is part also of being in the image of God, that we do have will to choose.
Wanting to do anything,
Exactly.
right? Wanting to have purpose, that's will.
Exactly.
Wanting to do evil, that's will.
Exactly.
And do you think animals will the way we will?
I think it's different, and this is actually also an important issue, is what is the difference between our will and the animal will, I think it will go to, do we believe that we are just kind of an advanced model of animal or different? Because, definitely, the animal had the will, but their instinct work more. So if they are hungry and you put food on them, they will not think about their food or someone else's food, they will just eat it.
Right.
Because they will behave more with their instinct. But humans are different, because I think, for human, there is something more. It's our conscious.
Our conscious.
And this is a huge issue, because from where this conscious come?
What is a conscience? Can we explain that in?
Yeah. So I think the conscious is basically it's reflected through your beliefs, your thoughts, that start to dictate for you what is the ideal thing that you see it. And this would be your conscious. I have questions about this. I don't think that conscious is an absolute thing. Conscious can be actually variable, and this is actually a big dilemma, and it's actually a big, I would say, philosophical argument. Because if we say that the conscious is the same, this means that everyone, if we leave everyone, they will go through the same path. No. I think the conscious are different by our dogma and our belief and how we understand it and how we practice it. And day by day, our life changes.
Is our conscience, is that the process of thinking about our actions, our process of thinking? When I think of my dog, I don't think he sits there and thinks about his actions. You know what I mean? Versus us, we're thinking about how we think. Have you heard that?
I think the dog has some consciousness.
Yeah.
So so
In what way?
I think by a simple way. So I think you can train your dog and tell him that don't do this, and then he's not going to do it. And then when you see it, for example, like a food in front of him, tell him no, don't eat this. He's going to question himself twice before he go. So why he's questioning himself?
So he's thinking
Because he feel like there is something wrong.
There's a consequence.
Yes, it can be a consequence, but also it can be it's because he get instructed that if he's going to do this, is going to be something wrong. So you actually feed it to him. It's going to be as a consequences, yes, but he started to think by a different way now. Or there is actually a filter here that I have to stop. And I feel that our conscience is basically, it's our filter that will tell us, yeah, you can do this or you cannot do this. This will be good for you or it's not good for you. The question is going to be where the beliefs of the conscious come from. Because, for example, if you are kind of like a young kid that's born with few people or kind of a gang group that their way of survival is to steal and kill, I don't think his conscience is going to be like the same kid who's born in a very nice family, very sweet family, very humble family, that they are giver family. And then this kid will see the killing or the surviving or the stealing is for him is a bad thing, while the other kid will see it as it's a way of survival. So that's why here is going to be, in my opinion, this conscious is different than this conscious. So the question is going to be coming why? Because
okay.
What did you feed this kid? And what is his beliefs? And what is his dogma?
Okay. So that sounds like we're talking about, so the environments that we develop in can highly affect our conscience. In one way, from a Christian perspective, you look at that and you're like, well, that's not fair, because God is treating everybody, why is everybody getting not judged? Well, judged, yes. At the end of the day, why does everybody have to live up to a certain standard? It almost feels unfair. How could we treat the guy who grew up in a great family because he developed a completely different conscience, right? To the guy who grew up in a very bad example of a family and he just didn't know any better. And it sounds like we're going into this idea of free will, which is really hard to understand from a Christian perspective and from even a worldly perspective. Some will say free will is actually an illusion. It's not real. How does free will really work? And why did God even give us that?
Yeah, I'm going to address the free will question, but I just wanted to stop first on a thing that you mentioned at the beginning about the judgment. I think we are in a humanitarian era now that try to condemn any judgment. And I believe that we have a very clear verse in our Bible saying that don't judge so you will not be judged, And when I go deep in this is, how come, God telling us, you don't judge people so you will not be judged? It's occasionally can get actually kind of very confusing. But when we go deeper in it, I think this is exactly why we should not judge people in their behavior, because I don't know what was behind this behavior, Right. So I see the end result, but I didn't know the process that make these people change it. So that's why, when God tells us, don't judge so you'll not be judged, I think this is very, very because, if I am going to judge the people by the end of their consequences behavior, this means that someone is going to come and judge me wrongly in my end consequences behavior that it can be wrong. So that's why, I just prefer to stop in this, because this is a very important understanding on, if we talk that no judgment is a humanitarian idea, yes, it is, but I think it's more Christian idea from the beginning,
How can we understand the potential way that God would deal with something like this? You know what I mean? Do we just have no idea what God would do or take in account, or
Yeah, I think this is very difficult.
I mean, we can't speak for God, obviously.
Exactly. I think there is many aspects here. I think the first aspect is when I say that like, I should not judge other people, doesn't mean that I do not judge the wrong behavior. This is actually a very complex issue. So, and we have to be very clear, because does it mean that you should be passive, that you will not judge anyone? No, I think what I meant here is you do not judge the people. Why? Because I don't have the judgment. But this doesn't mean that if there is a wrong behavior from my belief, that I should not say that, no, I don't believe in this. If you believe in this, it's up to you. But when this wrong behavior started to affect the community, at this point, yes, we have to have some sort of judgment, because it's going to be kind of completely ridiculous. There will be no limits. So we have to set a limit.
And it's still not judgment against the person, right? It's
judgment against the behavior of the person, and that's why they can get jail. So if we believe that there is some sort of judgment, this means that eternally there will be some sort of judgment, if we believe there is an eternal life.
If we believe, yeah.
And if we are fully materialistic, feeling that, okay, I'm going to die and then I'm going to just kind of rotten, or I'm not going to exist anymore and it's not important for me to exist. It's completely I can change this. It has to come from the person who believes in this.
Yeah.
I believe that there is eternal life. I believe that there is God. I believe that God is good. I believe that He make everything. And I believe Him that He told me, don't judge other people, because their life is more complex than to just to think that you know everything and you can say what's right and what's wrong. I can say what's right and what's wrong for the community, for the group, but I can't judge this person.
Okay. Okay, that explains. Okay, let's go back to the free will.
Okay. So I think the free will is one of the most important gifts that God gave it to us, because it's free will is very simple. It's you have the free will to do whatever you want. And if you are really in the image of God, this means that you have the free will. If you are not in the image of God, this means that you don't have the free will. So free will is you can do whatever. It's your choice. And as far as you do choice, this means that there is some consequences for it. And this is actually simple in our life here. So I do choices. I studied. I became a physician. I studied. I became an engineer. I studied. I am one of the best sales manager. I studied, or I worked hard and I'm very successful in my labor work. You choose what you like, but also you can choose that I'm not going to work. Mm-hmm. So you have the choice here. If you have the choice in the materialistic things, I think we will have also the choice in the metaphorical thing. You have the choice to believe there is God or no God. It's your choice.
Yeah. When you say metaphorical, doesn't metaphorical mean it's not real?
I think it's very important, this terminology, because metaphorical, when we put the metaphorical, it's not real. Because if I'm purely materialistic person, for me, it is not real. There is any spiritual issues.
Right.
But still also, again, it's even the materialistic, and different categories of it. I don't want to go through a philosophical argument here, but what I mean by I choose metaphorical rather than I choose religious or spiritual, because I wanted to make it more kind of general for everyone.
Yeah.
But for me, it is not metaphorical. It's not imaginary.
Spiritual, it's real. And it's real.
Yeah, because I believe in right. the Spirit. I believe that in God's Spirit. I believe that I have a different thing in my life that makes me different than the other creatures, that I have the Spirit of God in me. And that's what exactly God said in the Bible, that He gave us His Spirit.
Right.
So we are unique as a human being. It's not only that we have the image of the God, but also we have the Spirit of God.
Right. Free will could sometimes be a scary idea in terms, even when I, draw near to God and I'm help me with this, be with me in this, open the right doors, close the wrong ones. How much can God actually influence? Well, He's not really influencing our free will, right? We still have it regardless.
I think this will go to the subjective relationship between us and between God, so it's how, it's a huge subjective issue. But, could God intervene in our life for the better? I believe definitely. The question is how you read it. So how you read it. But this will get us to a different question, because I think the people get confused by God helping us, but also if he's helping us, so how come you see kind of the natural disasters or the evil that's going like everywhere? This is going to be a different thing. So we do have the will, but this doesn't mean that there will be no evil.
So your point earlier was, if we have free will in the materialistic realm, then we must also have the will in the spiritual realm. Free will.
Definitely.
But why though? It sounds like kind of bringing two things that might, like, that don't have to be related. Like, why are you relating? Why is that the thought process?
I think this is a very, like, I think this is a very important point. Like, what is the aim of the creation? Because, I think this will be, like, if we understand this root, and I understand it by a certain way, that like I think the aim of the creation is being communion, is God being Trinity. God create human in his image. Why? To share his eternal life. So we have to have the will in the spiritual life, because if we don't have this, like, this means that the creation is fake story. It's going to be fake, so like God just kind of creates some people and then they are going to follow him. This is actually kind of a fairy tale story. Like, this is not like,
it's like robotic.
Exactly. So, but he created the people. He gave them the eternal life. God, we can see it in the Trinity that, it's being about being communion and being united together. We know that, for people to survive, they cannot survive without community. And what's community mean is basically they have share certain common things to be united together, because this will make them survive. So in my opinion, that the unity is a way of survival. So if I united with God, I'm going to survive. If I did not unite with God, I'm not going to. In the spiritual level, God give me the will. Do I need to or I don't need to? So I have the will, and I'm not saying that, when you have this idea that you start to be a saint and you are doing everything well, I think we are still human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And if you reach to a certain point that, everything I'm going to do is 100% correct, this means that I'm not human being anymore.
Yeah.
So yes, we do have the will, we do have the mistakes. We always make mistakes, and this is our nature.
And that was the only way for God to have that unity with us. We have to choose him, right? We have to choose him. It's not, he didn't just create us all to be slaves to him. We have to choose him. And we'll be slaves to other things if we don't choose God. Like, no matter how much we want to be a free person from everything. It's almost impossible in our world, right? It is impossible in our world.
Yeah, no, but I think this will get us to the first thing in the this session, when we talked about the dogma and talked about the theology, because I'll just go one step back. Here it's basically, so why you choose God? Because there's a question why you are going to choose. So to choose God, this means that you have to see God by certain criteria, which is going to be your dogma about God. What's your impression about God? Who this God is? And then who this God is, then how I understand this. So this would be the theology. But the most important part is going to come is how I'm going to practice what I understand about God. Why? Because if God is it's all kind of joy, and God wants us, a joy. So I can't practice not joy and say that I'm going to be believing in God. It's not going to be compatible here. So that's why it's important to understand more God, because we will never follow God unless we understand God. And I believe people, when they say that, no, I don't believe in God, 100%, you are correct. If you don't know God, how will you believe in it?
Right.
How come,
So you think understanding comes before believing? Theology comes before
exactly believing. Theology has to be tailored for the dogma. So we have to put a title, we have to put an idea, and then we have to try to understand this idea. So God declared himself that he's good. So the question is how he's good.
Mm-hmm. understanding that.
So we have to understand this.
Right.
So when we say that God is like, love you to the extreme, what is the proof? The proof is Jesus Christ came as a savior. So he's the son.
Yeah.
When we try to say, okay, what is the relation between God and us? He's a father. So that's why this terminology is very unique in Christianity, because our dealing with our father, this is our God, is a father. And even as a human being, you will never see someone who likes his kids to be better than him. Because yes, we say that the father, actually, my kids, I'm very proud. I will never be jealous of my kids to be to be great. I like them. I tell them that you will be better than me.
Right.
So when we understand it in an earthly way, we can understand exactly when God dedicate himself as our father, what does exactly this word mean? He wants us to be a good people.
Yeah, and that makes sense because, that would be a big stop for a lot of people who will say things like, if God was truly all powerful and if he was all good, then there would be no evil. But you never actually looked to see what he's trying to tell you with that he is all good. You don't understand what that means, right? To them, that means no death, no suffering, everybody's happy. But guess what would need for that to happen? No free will. No free will, no tree, no fall. Still in Eden. Somebody else would have fallen because we have free will, right? So what you're saying is somebody needs to examine what these words mean.
Exactly.
Right? What does it mean for God to be good? What does it mean for him to be all powerful? Does all powerful mean he's going to control your every move? No, that's not the power that we're talking about. We're talking about a different kind of power and a different depth of love that lets you choose. At the same time, I wonder, he gave us free will, took his hands out of the whole equation, and is walking the other way. That's not God. So I feel like the idea of free will can sound like you're all on your own. Make the choice. Figure out what you're gonna do. Are you gonna believe in God or not? Can you tell me about what's the spiritual process? How does God help us in that discovery? How does he can direct us to come across things? We see people who go from complete atheistic antichrist mindset and they suddenly something happened and they're all on fire for God. And it's well, God must have been pursuing these people, right? He allowed that thing to happen. So we're not alone in this process, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely you are not alone in this process. It's just kind of, what you say here is I'm trying to make it in a more kind of human way that we understand it. So God is all power. Does he present as the king? We call God that he's the king of kings. But does he come as a king? No, he doesn't come as a king. Does he behave us as a king? No, he's behaving us as a father. And when he come as a savior. Why this? Because this is very important, in my opinion, of how we develop. So you can have a controller father or controlling father, and you can have a true actual father. What is the aim of the father? The aim of the father is to raise the kids, to make them independent, so they can grow and multiply and be successful. They are the father. But there is a controlling father or a king. So the king definitely, in the good way, he wanted to be the best and he wanted to help his congregation and his group. But he's not going to care of them as a father. The king has a son. His son is different. He teach him, he grow him by a different way than the rest of the lay person. Even he is the king that he's responsible for all this group. I see God dealing with us as a father, and he's a father for everyone. So the aim of the father is to raise his kids, to take care about them, and to make them grow and independent. That's why, he cannot be caring, meaning that he's controlling our behavior. No, it's part of it that we have to grow.
Right.
And when we grow, we make mistakes. And this is where our free will So it's part of the process of our growth, which is very beneficial. And because, like imagine that he's a very controller father, and then, okay, so then what's going to happen? Most of the controller father, they don't have, like, their kids are not the best kid.
Right. You do things out of fear. That's not out of love. It's not out of discovery.
That's why when we talk in our Father's prayer, like, our Father, this carry meaning.
Yeah.
Like our Father, like, we can replace it by our God, but we choose to, like, or
Just our
God
Father.
choose to put it as our Father.
Yeah.
And it carry meaning here. Because it's the only way to understand by our earthly way. Because it's very difficult for us to understand who is God. Like, like we have to understand it by the earthly way. And also the beauty about Christianity is when God tried to display himself to us or express himself to us, how he expressed it? By incarnation. Because this is the only way to understand it.
Yeah.
Like don't tell me about metaphorical issues and, like, kind of a spiritual stuff. It's going to be kind of a magic, like magic things. No. He came and incarnated as us, how he behaved, how we see it. This is the ideal thing. Just be like this.
Yeah. So it sounds like through that suffering process, that process in itself could be our guiding thing to God. Through our lows, through discovery, like a lot of people get into pure evil things, right? And then it's like their eyes open and they're like, oh, that's actually evil. And, like, of course, some will go and it doesn't matter. They're programmed that way now, and they'll live the rest of their life like that unless God reaches out in a different way, or their hearts, like some hearts are hardened, right, towards God, towards good. But through the free will, like, free will isn't necessarily, you make the wrong choice, now you're done forever. Like, it's through the brokenness of this world that we sometimes discover goodness, right? And discover God. Our free will could sometimes, even if it leads to, the opposite side of where God is, sometimes that journey of being off track in itself redirects you later on. Sometimes it's like you need to go in that dark side in order to recognize something, to learn a very valuable lesson, and then turn back to God.
I think to know the something is either that you describe it more, or to describe what's contrary to it, so you can actually try to understand it. So could we know God through evil? I don't think we know God like it's very difficult for this process. But evil as an evil, I think evil has to exist. So because, like, if we say that there is goodness, this means that there is evil. We can't imagine that there is goodness without evil. So the question is, could God create the evil? No. Could evil be as a consequences of the free will? I think they are the answer. Mm-hmm. And when I talk about evil, I think there is two parts of evil. I think there is an evil which come, like, from the natural disaster, like natural, like, I would say hurricane, diseases, but also there is human evil.
Right.
And I think these two, we have to understand them as two different things. Okay.
So let's talk about the natural disaster evil, like the diseases. Let's talk about cancer. That is not due to free will. I mean, maybe
this has nothing to do with the free will.
No. So how can we explain, why would God allow evil? How would you answer people who say, like, yeah, if he's all powerful and he's all good, there should be no evil? Let's discuss the answer to that question, which is quite broad.
No, I think this is actually, I think this is something that we have to think about it. Okay, so I'm just going to give an example. I don't know if this will fulfill the answer or no. But for example, if I have the will to drive my car and I drive my car, do I expect that an accident can happen? I don't think I can put that I'm going to drive my car without putting possibility of an accident.
Right. You can't guarantee.
So when God created the universe, we see the universe, how much powerful, how much beautiful. But when we understand that there can be, a wind, So this means that you may have no wind or you may have an excessive wind. So what the excessive wind is going to be? It's going to be a hurricane. So this is actually kind of a different presentation with different intensity of the natural, I would say, phenomena or the natural physiological categories that the rules of the university run. So if we have rain, this means that there is no rain. So the drought is going to be a problem for some people. So I feel that this is a different variation. As you see the good, you will see the bad, because this is how it will be. The question is, if this hurricane kill people, is this fair? I think this is a very difficult question. But if we understand that it's going to happen anyway, this means that's going to happen. Question is how the people deal with this. But it has to happen, because this is the
how do you believe in that and then say God is all powerful? That's a very fair question to ask.
Oh, definitely. So the question here, because always the question is, we blame God for this.
Yeah, I mean, so there is the evil from people, which we can say, okay, maybe let's blame that on our free will. But what about evil like diseases and natural disasters? That's not people related. Would you connect that back to maybe original corruption?
I don't connect it by this way, but I know that there is a lot of even theologian and a lot of philosophers who actually that mention or explain that this is related more to the natural corruption. But I see that this is a different presentation of the same power. So
the evil power?
I think that we take it as an evil, because it is bad. We used to say that everything is bad, is an evil. But when I say that there is a hurricane, is this hurricane evil or it's bad? You can say it's evil.
Right.
But also, it's bad presentation of the excessive wind.
But God is in control.
He is in control, yes. There is no question.
So why can't God calm the wind?
So this means that God is trying to intervene in the system.
Well, he can intervene.
He can intervene, but imagine that you create a system and every second you intervene in the system.
We're talking about raining, for example. There's a process that allows rain to accumulate and then it pours out rain.
Exactly.
Now, God is not going to come and, I mean, he could. He's done it before, right?
He did. Okay.
He could, but he allows things to happen, right? He allows the process to go how it needs to go. And only if he needs to intervene, then he would intervene. Or if he wills to intervene, then he would intervene.
Yeah, but also if we say this, so we'll say that why he's not intervening in everything. Mm-hmm. So, and that's why I feel that the intervention is going to be the exception to prove a certain miracle for a specific reason.
Right.
But when you have excessive raining that actually wipe a village, is this fair? In my human and earthy thinking, no, it's not fair. There is no question. I can't say it's fair.
Right.
But why it happened? It happened because it has to happen. If we believe that there will be a rain, and you will believe that there will be dry weather, so we'll have drought and we'll have excessive water that can wipe villages. We will have this too. It's like I drive my car. I can go, but I can make an accident. Both possibilities are there. When I made an accident, is this evil? It's bad. Is this evil? It's bad. But is this evil? When I say evil, what are we referring to? Are we referring to it's bad thing to happen? Yes, it's bad thing to happen. Are we referring that the evil is controlling it to make it happen? I doubt this. I don't think this is the true thing.
So you think it's more random? It just happens to be bad?
Yeah, so it has to happen. Things has to happen.
But a family member gets sick and they're struggling and they have they're gonna die. What do you just say? Oh, it has to happen. Why do we look up to God and say, God, why are you letting this happen? If everything is random, then like we're out of control of everything.
It's not like I don't mean it's random, because random meaning that there is no system for it. So, for example, when you talk about disease, so I'm now like 57 years. Okay, when I'm going to be 80 years, I'm expecting that I'm going to get stroke in my heart? Definitively, because I'm not 20 years, I'm not 10 years. If this bad thing, yes, it's bad. If this evil, no, it's not evil. So from the medical standpoint of view, things can happen. We have disease.
Like death in general, right?
Exactly.
Like it's inevitable.
So all of this, it has to happen because the human body is a very complex body. So, for example, what is the cancer? Cancer is just very simple. That cells that grow like uncontrolled or in like a wrong way. It's very simple. So if you have millions of cells that's in the right way, you do not expect that few cells will be in the wrong way. So in my opinion, this is bad. Yes, there is no question. But I don't want to refer everything as an evil. So yes, I take it as an evil. Yes. But if I understand, it's going to be like an accident for me. I don't mean that like everyone has to agree of my view, but this is how I see it. Because in my opinion, I can't expect that I'm going to do 200 times to drive my car, and none of them that I'll get accident. No accident. If I didn't, I would say I'm lucky.
Right.
So now I start to be lucky because the basic, if it's 1% reported, this means that when I drive 200 times, I'm going to have 2 accidents.
So in your personal opinion, then, how much does God have control over this? How much do you ask him to have control, to take control over things that are outside of our hands? Like if God forbid you're sick, would you just be like, well, God, like it had to happen, and so it is what it is? Or are you going to be wrestling with God with that?
Okay, so I think these and also I'm expressing my personal belief here. So for example, if I drove a lot, what I say, God, I don't want to make an accident, just protect me. Because I feel that I have a good intention and I'm trying to help, or I'm trying to do this. But if accident happened, that's fine. How I'm going to sort it?
Right. You don't suddenly well, God doesn't exist then.
Exactly. So because the expectation that's going to happen. So actually driving 200 times with no accident, for me, it's actually a miracle.
Right.
Okay. Because I'm expecting something to happen.
Right. Are you a bad driver?
No, it's just, that's why I feel that occasionally we take the picture as it's an evil thing. I think this has to happen. So when we say that God is not in control, no, God is in control. God put rules. Yeah, if you try to be kind of very meticulous and very caring, most probably are not going to make an accident. But we are human beings. We are not robots. So this means that, I may actually just kind of forget or I can, I may not focus for a fraction of a second and then accident happen. I can't say that, oh, why God, why did you leave me? Why did...
That's very interesting. I just thought of something. Like Jesus' death on the cross, it's pure evil, but yet something that the whole universe needed, that our humanity needed. So it's good and holy in a very ironic way, because it's also so evil.
Yeah. But what's going to happen when we think about this is like Jesus incarnated and lived. Was there a mission that he has to be crucified? Yes. Is it evil to be crucified? It is not an evil to be crucified, because actually it carry meaning for the whole humanity.
But it was still evil.
Something bad. It's bad. Is it evil? Yes, because no one liked to see what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so this I think this will get us to a different question: is could evil be a good, But what I'm trying to address here, that not everything bad happen has to be evil. Doesn't mean that it is not. Yeah, it's depending on what the terminology means. Because the problem when we put a word evil, what do you perceive it? Do you perceive it as coming from the devil, or do you perceive it that's something bad to your life?
Right. And we also have to consider that the devil, right?
Exactly. So if I see a hurricane happen, this is not from the devil. This is actually a natural disaster that happened because there is a certain physics that's like controlling the life, and this is going to happen sometime. Question is why God agree or like
Allow it.
It's I don't know.
Because we don't have his wisdom, and that's when we come to accept things. And so we have many, many examples of so-called evil or bad things being used for good, right? And God says,
exactly.
I will use everything for good.
I think this is a very important thing. And also I wanted to don't take it in from the optimistic, like nice things, because like also this bad sequence can destroy people. So I don't want it to say, this usually happens, we are going to be better. I think this can happen and can break people.
Yeah.
And still, I think this is how the life is. As you see some people get better, you can see some people get worse. I think, so this, I think will switch us to the second type of the evil.
Okay.
The moral evil or the human evil.
Yeah. What do you say to people who don't believe in a moral evil? They're like, morality is completely subjective, and what you think, and we have lots of examples, right, around us in life, like this person thinks this action is right, while I'm sitting here thinking this action is not how God designed the world. So we can see examples of subjective morality, but intrinsically, I don't think subjective morality is a real thing, because at the end, I feel like everybody stands there with feeling entitled to some sort of right, to some sort of way of being treated. The majority of the world will tell you rape is wrong, or evil, or, there are certain things. And it's like, if even, let's look at those few things that, people will agree on. This is wrong. If somebody wrongs my family, kills my children, like that is wrong. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, he needed to feed his kids, so it's okay because it was right for him.
For me, the moral evils is a little bit different thing.
Okay.
So like what I mentioned before is something more for the like natural evil or the natural bad. Mm-hmm. But I think for the human morality, it's like, for me, I perceive it in a little bit different ways. Not that, this has to happen, or, I think it's going to be different. I think these are two parts here for the moral evil here. Why this happened? It happened because we have the will. So I have the choice. Like the universe doesn't have the choice. The universe is controlled by certain rules.
Right.
So, like there is a wind. When it gets worse, it's going to be hurricane. It's not question. Question is going to be hurricane in the middle of the ocean. Who cares about it? Or it's going to be in the middle where the people will suffer from it.
Right.
So this is more rules. But for the human morality is completely different thing, because I think it is a will that you can do the good thing, but you choose to do the bad thing. Okay. So it's going to be evil. Yes, at this point, I will say it's going to be evil. Why? Because it's two way. Either you choose God's way or the ideal way, or you choose the devil way. So when you have a choice and you choose not to do the God winning things, this means that's going to be bad. But why it happened? Why it happened? Because you have the will. So right. You can't ask that, God, you are great. You give us a will, and now you are not great because we do bad things. It's like, it doesn't go, because fundamentally he give us the will. Mm-hmm. So one of the fundamental issue of the will that you can do right or left. Mm-hmm. So you can't, when you do left, you can't blame God that he give you the will to do the left. Like this is very confusing. So this is what I can do. And this is going to be evil, because basically evil. But for if group of people decided to do the evil things, unfortunately, people will suffer. Okay, if this evil, yes, it's evil. Why God allow it? God allowed it because he gives you the free will. So it's going to happen. We know that's going to happen.
In that way, it is similar to how you explained the first one, where it's like, it's also inevitable, because if everybody has free will, someone will choose to do bad, right?
Exactly.
We all choose to do bad at different periods of our lives and different times of the day even, right?
So this actually will lead you to your question here. So now, like, is this going to be the conscious is going to be relative, or like, if this like
is it a subjective
exactly,
is it a subjective or objective morality we're dealing with?
Exactly. So if we leave the morality to be subjective, is going to be a problem because it's going to change. It's going to be in a dynamic state that by the end, okay, we'll start first that stealing is bad. Now the stealing, it can be actually explained. It can be actually encouraged.
If you're feeding your kids, right?
My kid's going to die. So do you want my kid to die? No, die. That is worse than being stealing. So this means that I'm going to choose to steal.
Right.
But does this mean that stealing is a good thing? Because by this analogy, yes, it is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And I want to also emphasize, I guess, when it comes to certain topics, right, the parts that are not obvious, I think there is a few things that are very obvious, right? Like if somebody comes, murders my children for whatever reason, even if it's extremely explained in their heads, or like justified in their minds, or somebody comes and, sexually assaults a child because that's just what they like to do, and to them, they found that to be fine and moral, or they've shut their mind to even think about whether that is good or moral. They don't care, right? It's just justified in their mind. There are certain things like that people will stand and say, no, that is evil. It doesn't matter what that person thought. It doesn't matter because you're taking something away from someone. But then there's the other stuff that's, well, you just believe this because some book says that, and you happen to believe in that book, and I believe this because whatever says that. And I think in general, our world is getting further and further away from this objective morality.
I think like subjective morality is a huge topic, and I think this is actually the most the most challenging part, because when we talk about is morality subjective or objective? Morality, unfortunately, it is subjective unless it is connected to an absolute truth. Why? Because if you have a group of people over a generation, there is no question that their moral values is going to change. So does this mean that the morality is subjective? Yes, it's subjective. There is no question. And this is the problem here, because occasionally some people has an idea that, no, what's wrong is wrong. No, what's wrong is not wrong. What's wrong is wrong because we said it's going to be wrong. But if we change our mind in the future, it's not going to be wrong. And this is actually very, very, very dangerous area. And I see that losing a certain absolute values is going to make things questionable. We have few examples. We have few examples of how things can be changing. So, for example, even like for me as a kind of if in medical field, at this time we say that, okay, do you agree about suicide? Definitely no. Do you agree about euthanasia? No. But now we say that euthanasia is a patient right. He can decide. If they are not depressed, they can decide. If this change in morality, definitely.
Yeah.
This change in morality. I study when they said that if you help someone for euthanasia, not even if you agreed, if you help or you agreed or even you give idea, this is a crime. Now, no, it's not crime anymore. It's actually it's actually encouraged, because why not? Like if someone who really this is his will. This is clear example of how morality can be changed. I'm taking a strong example, but you have many other examples.
Do you think your morality stance with this also changed? You don't have to say how it changed, but do you think it changed?
Okay, so this is I think this is a complex question. I don't think morally I change. I think still morally I feel that this is not right. But the difference here, when you work with a system, you have to accept the system and you have to be honest to this system.
Yeah.
So if the medical system is telling me that this is my rules, euthanasia is right, I don't think I have the right to say no. But this doesn't mean that I agree about it.
Okay. Yeah.
Am I going to do it? I'm not going to block it.
Yeah.
If someone wants, I'm not going to, I would say, to lie on them. No, I'm going to help
Talk
them in
them out of
whatever
it.
they want. I'm going to direct them by this way. Okay, so this is this kind of more professional question.
Yeah.
It's like, my belief, for example, do I believe in abortion or no? This is a different question. Do I work in a system where it's allowed? And this is the benefit of the people. Yes. Why? Because I believe in the will.
Yeah.
I believe that this patient has a will. So if she decides to have abortion, this is her will. This is not my problem. I can't enforce my ideas on the people. When I work in a system that's allowing this. So I respect the system. I respect what I work with. I do what they dictate me to do. Doesn't mean that I agree about it in my personal life. Am I going to do it? No.
Okay. Are you going to do it? No. Okay.
No, I'm not going to do it for my personal life. Like now, if I feel that,
but
should I agree about euthanasia for myself? I believe that this is not in my belief, because I feel that I'm killing myself.
Yeah. So morality changes over time.
Definitely. There is no question. The only way is to make it not change it is that you have to hook it to an absolute truth, or it's going to change.
But it sounds like even if it is connected to an absolute truth, it may still change. So you're saying if somebody puts their...
No, there is a difference between change the core of it and change the presentation. Okay, it may be modified to the culture, but it's not going to change the core of the idea. So it has to change with the core of the culture, because if it does not change with the core of the culture, it's going to be rejected. Because what I used to, how I live my life in Egypt, I can't live the same life in Canada. I have to accept the Canadian culture. I have to live in the Canadian culture. I have to believe in the Canadian culture.
Right. But the core of your morality...
I'm not changing my spiritual link to the Christianity. But I can't come and apply everything in my Egyptian culture and I'm going to enforce it in the Canadian culture. No, this is wrong.
Okay. In an ideal world, would everybody have that one standard, one objective truth in which they base their morality on?
In my opinion, everyone has an actual absolute truth. But the question is, what is this absolute truth? Because you cannot actually,
But if it's not true, how is it truth?
It's truth for the people.
But truth is not, it's not your truth, my truth.
Definitely, yes.
It's what you think the truth is, what I think the truth is.
Exactly.
But that doesn't make it actually truth, right? We could be both wrong. One of us could be right. There's truth again. So if your absolute truth is God doesn't exist, I don't know if I want to call it absolute truth, because now we're saying God doesn't exist for you. And then you die and turns out you're wrong and God does exist. It just means you thought something was the truth, but you were wrong.
Okay, so that's why it has to be proven by what we see.
Evidence.
So, the evidence. So for example, if I have a certain beliefs about like just period, stealing is wrong, period. And by this way. But then it can be presented in a different way. And I can accept it by this way, that when you try to fundamentally see it, no, it's actually stealing. But my truth or my life accepted it and changed it and said, oh, it's fine. So this means that my truth is not the truth, because it changed the basic moral. Change it to something bad. Let me give an analogy so we can understand it.
Yeah.
So, for example, we see it in many different countries that people occasionally bribe some people. So what is bribing?
Giving money to get something you want.
Exactly.
It's buying, really.
Exactly. So it doesn't say that to give money to get something that's good or bad. It's just giving money to someone to get what you want. It doesn't say that if this good or bad. You see in many countries that people bribe. You can see, okay, I'm not going to get it unless I pay money.
Right.
So now the culture, the truth, the facts is telling me that pay the money so you can get it. Because when you get it, actually you'll do something better. If this is going to change that this bribe is wrong, you can. But if you go to an absolute truth, no, it's wrong anyway. There is difference between are you going to do it or no. I'm not saying about this, but what I'm trying to say is, is this a wrong act? It is a wrong act.
Yes. Okay.
But by the other way, no, we can actually accept it and say, oh, why not? And actually you see people encourage it.
So what's the absolute truth here? The absolute truth is that it's wrong.
It's wrong. Why? Because clearly, you should not bribe people.
But if you justify it to yourself and your conditions, your environment, your culture,
you will accept it.
Would you call that your new absolute truth?
Exactly. Because this would be the subjective morality. Because subjectively...
But it wouldn't be absolute truth at that point.
No, it's going to be absolute truth because the people who bribe, they are very happy and they feel that, oh, actually, when I give this money to this person, I actually may help them. They need the money. They are poor people. So I'm actually helping them to raise their kids and I get my stuff and everything is done quickly and I don't wait. And you see it in many different cultures. So if this bribing is correct, no, it's not correct. So you can try to say, okay, now we are going to change it. And we can take it in a different levels. Like someone who killed someone. If this one didn't go and kill him, he's going to kill the rest of the people. What are you going to do? Like we say here in the Western community, we say, no, it's wrong. It's not going to change. But some tribes, for them, it is the absolute morality that you have to do this. You are going to survive, your family will survive, you are strong. But I'm trying to get a certain analysis by certain examples about certain idea that this actually can progress to this. So that's why it has the morality. I'm trying to prove one point here that morality is subjective unless it's attached to an absolute truth. This will answer your question when you said that, the God does not exist for me, it exists for you. Because now it's going to be, yes, it's absolute truth for me, but if this is the standard absolute truth. And what does the standard absolute truth mean? In my opinion is, what the standard absolute truth is, what actually happened in the past and what was actually so for example, could we say that incarnation of Jesus or Jesus died on the cross, if this is an absolute truth or no?
It is.
So why you say it's an absolute truth?
Because it's historically proven.
And archaeologically proven.
And archaeologically.
And we believe in it. And it's kind of it's written in many books. There is, and people who actually try to criticize it, they could not. Even
Thank you for saying that.
One of the big, names in the kind of the, I wouldn't say, but do not believe in Christianity. His name is, Ehrman, who actually said that, yeah, I can try to disprove anything in the Bible, but I can't disprove this fact.
The one thing. Yeah.
So I can't disprove this fact. So the question here is, if Jesus Christ came, and we believe in Jesus Christ by this way. So in my opinion, everything he did is or everything is teaching. This is the absolute truth for me. And that's what I'm linking to. And this will be my measure in my morality. Someone else decided to do any other absolute truth with any other change. It's fine. The beauty thing about Christianity is when we say God does exist, God does not exist metaphorically, does not exist spiritually, does is not only in heaven, does incarnated and came in Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ lived. There is proof that he lived. Crucified. There is proof that he crucified. He's risen. There is a proof that he's risen. Mm-hmm. No human being can do this. And this is our belief. And this is the beauty thing about Christianity. Because could I prove it? Yes, I can prove it. Because
there's
if you
evidence.
don't want to say that, Jesus Christ is not the God, it's up to you. I can't prove you. You have the free will.
When it comes to morality, I can see a little bit of the bribing example where it's okay, yeah, I depending on environment, depending on a lot of things, that might be the best thing to do in that case. And everything in your mind, your thinking, your conscience is telling you that's the right thing to do. is to bribe, because otherwise my kid is going to die if I don't get him in the hospital, you know. But when it comes to actual, like the existence of someone, it's like somebody can tell me that's my absolute truth all they want. Like, should I start investigate that? Okay, maybe they're right. Maybe God doesn't exist. Like, truth means something. Like, the word truth, it carries reality in it.
Okay, what I'm trying to say by this, I'm not trying to convince everyone that Jesus came, Jesus is the God. No, I'm not trying to do this.
Yeah, I'm trying to do.
No, but I'm not trying to do this. What I'm trying to do is basically to say that what I believe in is, for me, this is fact. So what did Jesus teach people?
Yeah.
That's what he teach. I follow this teaching. Why I follow this teaching? Because I see that for me, it's an absolute truth. Could this be enforced on the other? No, cannot be. Because
no, not enforced.
Not even like give us the free will, and we're talking about the free will. How I'm going to like, you know?
I'm not saying enforce.
Yeah,
but if I come to you and say, I don't believe in God and that's my absolute truth, what would you tell me?
No, that's fine. It's up to you. You know,
but it's like, okay, well, that's truth for you. It's not truth. Would you tell them it's not truth?
So like, that's why I tell them, examine it.
Examine it.
You know, so
okay,
for
that's
example,
it.
If you examine this and you see that this is every day you go far, like, so for example, I start here. Okay, I start in this point. They the best good, they the best evil. Which way I'm going tomorrow? Am I going this way or I'm going this way? If I'm going this way, this means that I'm following the right path. If I'm going this way, no. If I start to question myself and I say that yesterday I was accepting this, today I'm accepting this. By my morality yesterday, is this better or worse? By my morality yesterday, not my morality today. Okay? So was it better or worse? If I see that it's better, this means that's going in the right direction. You know, so, which I mean that, like, you know, if I feel that, okay, no, what I'm doing is one step toward the right thing. This means that for me, I believe this truth. Because, you know, like it's very important. Why do I believe to be a Christian? Why? It's not because I am born as a Christian. Yes, maybe if I'm still in Egypt, like I will not question this, but now you have the freedom, you know? So like after even I finished all my study, I felt that, no, I need to like, you know, if I studied medicine for 20 years, so why not to study more theology, understand what I believe in? And I questioned everything.
Right.
So I'm questioning things and I'm reaching that, no, this makes sense. This for me, like there is evidence. So for example, when you read the Bible, this is not a fairy story. So when we read, for example, about St. Paul, when he actually got jailed in the Philippian jail, this is not a fairy tale story. I went to to Philippi and I did see the jail. So this story are truly existent stories, true stories.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. So theology is understanding why we believe the things that we believe about God.
Yes.
Do you feel like a lot of people ignore that in their lives? Like they go start to finish, they don't think about it.
Yeah, I think many people ignore it by two ways. One way, I don't want to think about it, just forget about it. Or if like, you know, I try to just re-explain quick thing. When I talk about dogma, I put about theology, the understanding of my beliefs. And the practice is what I am doing in my daily life for my beliefs. This is the practice. Okay? So what we behave in our life, what we do, is basically, it's coming from our beliefs or our mind, like world view. What happened occasionally, people after some time, they started to continue in what they are doing and they start to forget why we are doing this. Okay. So for example, like you used to go to the church, or you did not used to go to church, or like, you know, you went one time, or like you didn't go, or you do this as a good thing. So people start to get hooked to the practice
and forget about the theology.
Theology.
Why?
Okay, exactly. Why you are doing this? It's normal for human being. You are not thinking all the time.
Yeah.
But it is not normal is not to always remind yourself, and it is not normal is to try to suppress it and ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
So your question is why people is either because they try to suppress it and ignore it because they don't want to bother themselves by the dogma, or because they are happy about their practice and they don't want to question themselves. Because if you question yourself, this means that you are going to make a decision.
You have to be ready for change, right?
Exactly. And this change can be a change or no change. Actually, you may just continue on what you are doing because you are more convinced that this is the right thing.
Right.
But you are questioning yourself. Some people will not be willing to do this, and some people, they don't bother. They don't like to bother. That's what I used to do. It's what I learned. It's fine. I'm just going to do it.
That's a really difficult position to be in, you know?
Definitely, yes. Definitely.
Like, that's a very dangerous thing to do. Like, I feel like that question is the most important thing to find out. Like, does God exist? And like, to some people, it just sounds like a ridiculous concept. It's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he doesn't. But then they don't even do anything after that.
It's usually difficult, like, you know, and this is, I think, the human nature. You don't want to put yourself in a wrong position. You try to put yourself in the right position. Why? Because you will have a struggle with your, like, you know, like soul and mind and spirit, like, you know. So people doesn't want to have this struggle.
But it's risky because they genuinely don't. They genuinely think it's like the most unlikely thing that could happen, that could be real. Like, some people are in that mindset. No, he doesn't. There's no way he does. Because there's a certain level of, like, believing a man died and rose from the dead. To some people, it's like, yeah, I'm never going to get to that point where I actually consider that idea to be true. And that's why maybe they don't want to step into it, right? I'm never going to get, I was just talking to somebody last week, I'm never going to get to this idea that, like, only if you believe in Jesus Christ, you will enter eternity with him. And if you don't, you're going to burn in hell forever. Like, some people have these ideas and they just can't even give them a second thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's why I feel like, you know, it's not about only Jesus, but definitely it's everything about Jesus Christ. But the question here, if I question myself about my, like, you know, my life or my behavior, the question is, what's the good thing to do and why?
What is good?
Exactly. What is good and why? The question is more important is why it's good. Because, you know, for example, when we say, like, you know, stealing, bribing, murdering, or, like, you know, helping other people or do whatever, if this is good or bad, and if it's good, why it's good. So when you say that, you know, outreach or like getting, like helping homeless people, why? People go and help homeless people. Yes, it's a very good idea. It's because you don't want them to suffer. I think this is brilliant idea. Like, who want other people to suffer? If I'm in their position, I don't want to suffer. I'm very helpful. But the Christian idea of it is the unity. We wanted to share their feeling. The only way that to share their feeling is you make them a sandwich. You try to go and talk to them and give them and share their time.
Yeah.
I was talking one time to my son, and one time he said that I think the precious thing in gifting is to give money, to give time.
The what? The precious?
The precious thing in giving is giving time. Because if you have $1 million and you give 1,000, you give a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you have 1,000 and you give 1,000, you give everything. It's great.
Yeah.
You know, but if you have 1 hour and you spend it, what are this? Because the 1,000, you are going to make another 1,000.
Yeah.
But this hour is
not coming back.
It's not coming back in your life. So you shared it with someone.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why when we say that, okay, like, you know, helping homeless people or doing good things, it's very important because you share the suffering. And that's what exactly Jesus Christ did.
But what if the answer ends there? You know, why? Why am I helping people? To share their suffering. That's it. Well, you could keep asking why, right?
No,
because so far, I mean, you could be a very moral person without God, right? You can help the poor. You can be a nice person. You can...
And this will go to the community. What's community? It's common people that share together to be united. And where this idea comes from is coming from
the Father.
Unity with God, being communion. And that's why the Trinity is. And this is actually the sequence here. So I see the sequence.
Mm.
So that's why doing this is actually part of the big idea.
Mm.
And who put the example? The Trinity, God through the Trinity, put it when he create Adam and Eve and create the humanity. Why? It's because he wants the humanity to unite it. And when the humanity failed, what does he do? He sent his son. Why? To unite with the human nature.
Yeah.
So God united with the human nature to allow the human nature to be able to unite with them. And how we do that, this is the practice. This is our belief. So when I go and give a sandwich to a homeless, I'm not giving a sandwich to help him. The Christian idea is to share his suffer. So if you did not share his suffer, you just give the sandwich and just run.
Just like Jesus did with us, right?
Exactly.
Shared our suffering.
Because Jesus did not come in a human shape. No, Jesus come in actual human. So he actually suffered.
Yeah.
He didn't come and just kind of a picture that's crucified, because there is a lot of like heresies about this. It was just kind of like a view. No, it's not a view. It's actually the God came and shared.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
So do we share when we go? Or do we just give?
Okay. So I kind of want to wrap up this episode with one specific question. And how does doubt itself help us in the process of becoming faithful?
Yeah, I think doubt is the cornerstone here. Doubt is the thing that will make you progress and realize and understand. And I'm going to take it from the medical standpoint of view, so without doubt in our researches, we will never reach to what we have now. So doubt in our belief is very important, because it's not only it will guide us toward the right direction, but also it will make us progress in it. And it doesn't matter what's your belief, you have to doubt it.
You have to question it.
You have to question it, and you have to subjectively and objectively feel that it is the right thing.
Right. And so it is a very dangerous thing to just step back and say, I have a lack of proof for God, and so because I never experienced him for myself, and so I'm never gonna question it past that.
Definitely.
And I will just die and find out one day.
Definitely.
Very dangerous. I want to thank you so much, Victor, for
No problem.
being here today in your own home, for welcoming me in your own home to get this episode done. It's been such a pleasure, and I hope it helps people out there.
Welcome, and thanks, Maria. And it's very nice to see you here.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Good. We get some family time in the meantime.
Next time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Bye.